innovative content, global audience.
Hello, good morning, viewers. A very warm welcome to you from the world's capital city, London. This is Wake Up Nigeria. My name is Princess Kessy. Yes, we have quite a lot coming in from our dailies this morning. Quite a lot, if you ask me. And what can we do? We only hope that we'll have a better Nigeria in the future. And now there's this, the tussle between these our leaders. Like I said yesterday, one would have thought that with the certification from the university, that would have died down the issue. But we'll see that there is still back and front as regarding that issue. And CBN raises dollar supply, lift ban on Smith's 42 other items. These are some of the stories we will be looking at this morning. You're welcome. I have with me this morning a strong, able Nigerian youth to discuss these issues with me. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Princess.
How are you today, sir?
Fine. And how is London today?
Well, thank God we can't complain. We have quite a
Okay.
lot, of course, coming in. But before then, before we kickstart the newspaper, let's. What's your take? What do you think we do with the issues of falling tanker on a major highway? And even though we know that scooping of the fuel or people trying to get some of the products it's very there could be disastrous at the end of the day. We saw that in Warri. We've seen that in Port Harcourt in Lagos as well. And there was still people, it seems people don't tend to learn from the past experiences. You still see people, the moment a tanker is, something happened, the next thing everybody is struggling to get amounts of product or fuel from the road, and which that could lead to a major disaster if any strike or any fire occurs. So what can be done?
First and foremost, the roads are very, very bad. And if you look generally, the state of infrastructure nationwide are very, very bad. That's number one. Then number two, the drivers of such tankers. We have majority of persons that do things in a manner that shows they don't care. We have an I don't care attitude and self-centeredness on those that apply the routes as tanker drivers. We have people, at so many times we've witnessed situation whereby maybe you are driving the road with a tanker driver, or any person driving big truck, you want to make sure you give them far distance, keep far distance from them in order for them not to crush you because they don't care. Then number three, the mentality of our people. You see somebody running at loss on what the person is conveying, because for the fact that an incident happened, you want to go and scoop and get something for yourself. This goes beyond hunger. There should be a culture of discipline or discipline to be contented with what you have. That should be the uppermost thing. People don't care. Like the last one I saw before this Lagos incident, I'm seeing this last night, was even with dead bodies and people whom are injured along the roads, some persons were still crossing them to go and take whatever they want to take, which is very, very bad. Where is the humanity in us? It shows that we are gradually drifting into a situation whereby nobody will care about any person uh, again. Just like the situation of the Bible that says they let the dead bury the dead. That means we get to a time whereby even if there are dead bodies somewhere, nobody will care about burying them, which is very bad. So we should leave being self-centered, and the government should stand up, should rise up to its responsibility of making sure our infrastructure are developed in order for vehicles that are applying the routes to have a smooth drive. So when these are put into place and we look at ourselves, seeing our neighbor as we see ourselves and be conscious of what we are doing, we'll be able to solve majority of these issues, situations that we are having in our land.
It really is really pathetic, and it's pitiful as well when we see people, though they don't learn from the past experiences. We saw that in Warri just barely days ago, and then we're seeing it today again,
Yeah.
where people don't tend to learn, and they don't even know the danger of what that could lead to. It's really really sad. We kickstart this morning with the Daily Trust newspaper. Now, these are some of the stories we have coming from the Daily Trust newspaper. The main headline here says, these are some of the stories we have coming from the Daily Trust. And the main headline here says, Tinubu breaches law on Olukayode's appointment as EFCC chair. This is coming from experts. And the writer says, no law violated. This is coming from Presidency. All the stories are on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says many feared dead trapped in three tankers fire incidents in Lagos. And now that story is on page 8 of the Daily Trust newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Tinubu asks Supreme Court to dismiss articles appeal. And that story is on page 13 of the Daily Trust newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says troops uncover bodies in IPOB's end verse. And that story is on page 24 of the Daily Trust newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says 270 varsities seek licenses as federal government open space for foreign institutions. That story is on page 36 of the Daily Trust newspaper. There's a story here that says 2024 Hajj. NACO gives intending pilgrims 3 weeks to deposit 4.5 million naira. And that story is on page 17 of the Daily Trust newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says mixed reaction as CBN lifts FS ban on rice, cement, toothpicks, 40 others. That story is on page 19 of the Daily Trust newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says ICPC begins a tracking of 500 billion naira constituency projects. That story is on page 18 as well of the Daily Trust newspaper. Now, these are all the stories, Mr. Truman, we have coming from the Daily Trust. And there's a story here I'm seeing that I really want you to throw more light on the ICPC. No, I beg your pardon. Missed reaction as CBN lift ban FS on rice, men, toothpicks, and other 40 items. What does this mean for the economy?
Even before, during the time of Buhari, before Tinubu time, they have this series of time whereby they've lifted ban on importation of things and others. But to what extent has it been good to the masses? Before now, if you look at it, the way at which prices of commodities like those being imported, rice and the rest, skyrocketed during the time of Buhari, it is still the same thing we are experiencing now. And now there was even, so I think sometime this week, I was asking how much is a bag of rice. Somebody was telling me 57, 4,000 naira, which is very, very expensive. That was something we bought about 14,000 or thereabout some years, not up to 10 years back. So what happened that we have such a great difference in the price of a product like that? So lifting, one thing is to lift, then another thing is to control the price. If there is no measures put in place for price control, the lifting of ban will not still effectively if imply on the product prices like that. So there should be price control, regulation, and that more also in place. If you look at it, we are in a period of whereby people will be demanding for rice, and before now, we have some warehouses here around me. If you go to those warehouses, houses, they've already stocked their warehouses with rice. So what will happen to these people who have possibly imported in at a higher price? What will happen to their product? So if they are lifting ban, they should try as much as possible to still, as a matter of fact, look into who already have products in stock, so that it will not be a loss to those people as well.
That also says 270 university seeks licenses as federal government open space for foreign institution. Now, do you think this is what we need? A government that is not able to resolve issues pending with ASU for over a period of time is now opening space for foreign institutions to come in. What do you think this will make any headline, any headwaves in the future?
If you look at some time ago, there was a time they were agitating for local content in the oil industry, and local content to some extent means bringing in indigent businessmen to be part of the nation's oil exploration. Then coming to talk about education and opening, giving a space to other foreigners to come and invest in the educational sector of our nation is to a large extent telling our people that we are not capable of running schools here. If you look at it, there are so many people who are with so many institutions already in the nation, in the country, and to a large extent, majority of them are gradually becoming private institutions, which to a large extent has made the cost of education to be on the increase, to be on the rise. You can see a situation whereby a student will pay up to 1 million and above as tuition fee. And this is already affecting the state and the federal owned institution. So as this is happening, it is to a large extent telling us that those who are from poor background will find it difficult having access to quality education. So if we are to have access to quality education, it means that the federal government should do what? Federal state government should rise up to their responsibility of making sure that the state-owned and the federal-owned higher institutions are functional and they are up to date in order to compete with that which we have in other countries. Some time ago, I was listening to someone who said he was on the same flight with an Indian medical doctor, who attested to it in the 80s.
Okay, a little bit of network there.
Studying
And
medicine. The
yeah,
people that he and his wife came from other country, from India, to come and study medicine in Nigeria. And before you can study medicine in Nigeria as at then, according to him, he said he gave some instances that people that like a GCE holder that left Nigeria for UK doesn't need any other clarification or certification before he can be employed to teach. So what happened between the 80s and now that our educational system have nosedived, and we are now rushing abroad to go and have a certificate or get a degree? So the government, first and foremost, before opening the window to foreigners to come and study here, we all will have a curriculum that with which those people will be given through to lecture or to teach here. So we should make sure that our system is first and foremost upgraded. If you have foreign universities here and the background, the primary and secondary school is not properly done, the foundation, which is the foundation, then what would the person go to those foreign institutions to do? We still go and be looking for ways to do what? to cheat in order to pass. So the foreign those institutions be given the go ahead to come and run the educational this thing here. If the primary education and the secondary education of our countries are not properly of our countries not looked into and the foundation properly set, it will not still work the way it is supposed to be. The strength of a building is determined by the strength of the foundation. So let the foundation be settled first before we talk about the roofing and the rest, which is the higher institution.
Now, look at a picture story here. You can see the cover picture there that you can see the fire and the story under beneath it says many fear dead trapped in tankers fire incident in Lagos. Exactly what we were discussing when we came on the show. Now, Mr. Chuma,
Mm.
if you see this, you will know that they said the story said many fear dead trapped in three tankers fire incidents. Now, do you think there should be a specific time for these people to move around? They should. I don't even know what to say, but since the roads are not very good, because the one that happened in Wari was they did tie that to a bad roads,
The
and
bad
now
portion of that one.
yes, we're seeing that most time. I think the time they want to make U-turn and sometimes break. I've actually witnessed it myself in from Kogi going to Edo State on that express where a tanker, two tanker coming for like they were following each other, and the one behind actually just failed brake, and he didn't want to hit the one at the front, so he had to divert and enter this other side, and vehicles were coming. I was in one of that car there, and it was not a very pleasing thing to see. And so at the end of the day, thank God we were all safe, but the man had to enter the bush and the whole PMS started pouring out. And of course, while we were coming down, rejoicing that we didn't die, and the next thing, even people actually started running because we know that that could actually lead to explosion. But
Yeah.
even at that, you could see some people trying to go and get what they can get. Now, I really don't know how to put a stop to this because this is taking too many lives. And of course, it's as if Nigerians were not willing to learn.
Like I said, that how many things, four things I listed that are involved in this. The government should step up to its responsibility, making sure our infrastructures are upgraded and updated. Then people's mentalities, the drivers of the tankers drivers should know what to do. I don't know if they should run tests for them before they are given tankers to drive, because the mentality of some of these persons, you see them on the road, it looks as if they are the landlords of the road, that every other person's at that particular time doesn't have the right of way. Then people's mentality matters a lot. People's mentality. You see somebody running at loss, you will do what? In those days, you can open your window and sleep and nothing will happen to you. But now, even if you open your, if you lock, you have protector, you have your window locked, so, and with other security this thing in place, still have people trying to do what? To come and meet you in your house. We should stop it. You will say you are not a thief, but you see this kind of thing, you want to go and scoop. Is that not stealing? That is stealing. So mentality is the number one thing. People's mentalities should be changed. Then the government, I don't know if there should be a way, if there can be a way whereby there will be restriction of movement for some of these vehicles. I don't know to which extent, because it will help to solve that. Because some of these things that are happening, if you look at it, it is not a head-on collision with other vehicles. Some of them they fall on their own. It's a matter of head-on collision or accident with other smaller vehicles. Then you will say, okay, because the other vehicles are on the way at that particular time, let's restrict their movement to a particular time of the day. Do you understand me? So I don't know how government will handle it, but to me, metal check for tanker drivers, tanker drivers. Some of these persons they drive for companies. They should know the kind of people, the nature of people they employ, and there should be a caution where there is no caution, or where there are no consequences. There is no crime. So if you don't make person to know that if you do this, there is a consequences attached to it. The person wouldn't know that what he's doing is right or wrong. Then number two, the government should sit up infrastructure. That's the number one thing. Some of these things that fall, they fall as a result of a bad portion of the road. So the government should sit up in order to make sure that our roads are good. Then let's look at it in another way. The railway system. The railway system. Let us improve on our railway. Our roads are already getting congested, and the numbers of cities that are having railways are very, very limited. So let us see how other railway channels or tracks can be constructed in order to limit the excessive usage of our roads.
Well, that is a good suggestion. We're going to move on to the next paper now. And it's really sad that Nigerians don't learn. We're going to move to the Punch newspaper. Now, these are some of the stories coming from the Punch newspaper. The main headline here says forest crisis. CBN raises dollar supply, lifts ban on cement, 42 items. And the rider says 8 years a forest ban on rice, 42 others removed. CBN insists on single FS rates. Private sector manufacturers hail FG. Cardoso plans more forest policy reviews. All the stories are on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. As well, there's a story here that says articles evidence from Chicago irrelevant. Tinubu tells the Supreme Court, and that story is on page 25 of the Punch newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Israel, Hamas, US, UK, India evacuate citizens. Deaths hits 2007. 2007. And we have another story here that says complete AAK gas pipeline 2024, FG others contractors, and that story is on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says diesel laden tanker crushes on Lagos highway, traps bus. And that story is on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says LPPC named 58 lawyers. SAN drops 11 professors on page 28 of the Punch newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says 2 die, others injured in Oshun collapsed building. That story is on page 5 and 4 of the Punch newspaper. There's a story here that says PSC promotes 12 commissioners, 5,706 police personnel. And that story is on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. There's a story here I really want you to throw your weight on. So we have here, we know that Atiku and the president, they have been back and forth with the certificate issue from Chicago. And now one would have thought that bringing the certificate certifying that indeed he did graduate from that school, we died the tension and they are uproar here and there. But what's your take generally on this issue that is still lingering for a very such a long time now?
To some extent, I would say let's get to the bottom of this and know what is actually the issue. We are in a system whereby people wouldn't want to talk because it benefits them. We are in a situation whereby we believe that let all go, that as far as it has happened like this, let it be as it is. But if something is not corrected, that means it becomes a tradition. Like what we see in our courts, cases are decided based on precedents that has been set by previous cases. So if corrections are not made, every wrong that is being done becomes a norm, but it shouldn't be. So let us be responsible for once as a people. We are all, as a country, it is in our constitution that everybody are equal before the law. So if nobody, if somebody because of the office he occupies, maybe you are a councillor, a PA or SA to one person because of that, or you have one position, or you have money, or whatever thing you think you are, you now feel that every other person's are nobody to you, then it becomes we are trying to have a country whereby the next generation will be uncontrolled. So in that particular case between Atiku and Mr. President, there is an allegation. Allegation doesn't just fly without an iota of truth attached to it. So, as far as we are concerned, people have pointed out different issues from that certificate saga, abnormalities, and so many other things. Then, accusation and counter accusation. Chicago coming to say we issued this, we didn't do this. All those are in place. So let Nigerians know. We should let Nigerians know that this is actually what happened in that process. But our educated elites, I can see in this regard that they don't own up to responsibility. Agbakoba, who was saying some days back that he's ashamed of lawyers because people wouldn't want to say the truth because it seems to do what? To benefit them. Even our national dailies and some other news media, both the print and the others, they don't talk much on some things because it seems to. I don't really know what to go into detail,
Do you
but I
think we
don't.
don't do enough? We don't talk so much.
They don't talk so much on some of the things. We see a situation whereby a national television will say something, and before you know, NBC will issue a warning and trying to restrict them from what to
This is
say.
what they have been doing over the years. We all know that to an extent, the press is being gagged. So you can say too much, and your life, the life of people around you, will be at
Uh,
stake.
they
These
are
are
at
some
stake.
of the issues. Regardless, I think we say we talk as well. Now, there's a story here I want you to throw your weight on. Israel, Hamas, US, UK, India evacuate citizens. Deaths hit 2,700. Now, what's your take on this? Now that people are evacuating, I know that Nigerians are everywhere. That is for sure. There is no place you go to in this world that you will not see Nigeria. And the good thing is that when you follow the news carefully here, where I am, you see that they don't care whether it is one citizen they have there. All they care about is the well-being and how to evacuate this person out of that war zone. Now, what do you think we can do? Because nobody's talking about Nigerians. We know that we have people there as well, not just in Hamas, but Israel as well.
Nigerians are always late in coming up in terms of rescuing their people. And you can see one good thing about the US is they don't even play, even with the life of one of their citizens. They don't joke with it. US doesn't joke with it. They can, because of one citizen, deploy military personnel to another country just to go and do what? Rescue that person. But Nigeria, because that is why you see a station whereby a terrorist will enter a community, will enter a church, will enter another place and do all sorts of things. And the government will not say anything about it because it seems not to care about the lives of the citizen. Our country, we have a kind of leaders. We have kind of leaders that doesn't care about the lives of our people. That is number one thing. And we've seen kudos to Oyema, the CEO of Airpeace. Several times he have taken it upon himself to evacuate Nigerians from situations like this. So maybe they are definitely waiting for people like him to step up before they will rise up and evacuate Nigeria. I don't know how true it is, but I think yesterday I was seeing a flash from we don't. It's not necessary we solely rely on some of this social media stuff. I was seeing it on one of the platforms that Nigeria lifted about 200 citizens from Israel. So I don't know how true it
Story
is.
as such, I've not seen that story. But if
So
it's true, then we'll be happy. And then
that
we
is
move
why I
on.
said,
Yes, we move
that is
on
why
to
I said
go
that is
ahead.
why That is why I said it is not really true to rely on some of this social media stuff, news stuff. So, but the truth is, the government should wake up to its responsibility of making sure that the lives of every citizen matters most to them. in order to make the people have confidence on them that yes, my country will fight for me, they will rescue me, they will do this for me in terms of situations that are life threatening. So if the government doesn't sit up in responding to situations emergency like this that are threatening the lives of the citizens, it will not sit up to do its responsibility as a government in any situation. They should sit up. They should send whichever air force or aircraft they can send to go and rescue Nigerians. It's not a difficult thing. If they can send people on pilgrimage in order to get names that yes, they are.
Understand, even as we speak right now, we're seeing that they are still planning pilgrimage here and there. And then
Yes.
when we talk about rescuing, evacuating citizens, it becomes a problem. It's really something we should all be worried about. Anyway, because of time, we move on quickly to the next newspaper we have, and that will be the Nigerian Tribune. Now, these are some of the stories coming from the Tribune this morning. The main headline here says CBN lifts forest ban on 43 items to intervene in FS market on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And the writer says reinstates commitment to boost liquidity in market. Action will reduce premium between official parallel markets. This is coming from Dawn. Avoid market suppression and tendencies. CPPE warns CBN. All the stories on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, as well as a story here that says Senator Uba Don's YPP defects to APC, and that is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Reps probe alleged victimization, forced imprisonment of Nigerians in Ethiopia. That story is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. There's a story here that says a Navy destroyed 3 million liter capacity illegal refinery camps in rivers. That story is on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. There's a story here that says how flood affected cassava, maize, beans in 18 states. Now, this is the report we are having this morning, and it's on page 12 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says FG approves over 260 emergency road repairs. Works to go to 270 billion naira. This is coming from Umai, and that story is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Farmer board gets nod for reconstitution on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Now, these are some of the stories we have coming from the Tribune. But really, there's a story that is worrisome here, Mr. Chuma. Don't forget that there's this headline also in Punch that says two dies, the others injured in building collapse, which this may lead to flooding. You know, houses actually blocking drainage way and all that could actually be affected with things like that. And then we're not seeing here that on the Tribune that how flood affected cassava, maize, beans in 18 states. Now, this is the report we're getting this morning. Where do we go from here, Mr. Truman?
On the issue of flooding, I think there are speculation that there is a particular dam in Cameroon that once it is open on yearly basis, it impacts on Nigeria by way of flooding, and such flooding affects communities, affects other parts, and at times, so many times, it has affected roads and so many places, causing havoc and loss of lives and properties. So, and normally I learned that in the 80s, when that dam in Cameroon was to be constructed, Nigeria was as well to construct another dam in order to cushion the effect of water when it is released from that Cameroon dam. But because of who we are and what our people believed, or what I don't know, they did not construct the one they were supposed to construct. And now we are seeing the effects of what is happening. Our own sustainability as a people lies on the production of what we eat. So if what we eat is being affected by flood, which is subject to, which can be controlled, then you are telling me that to get to a time that we will not be able to feed, and to a large extent we will not be relying on imported food. And once we are relying on imported food, it affects or have effects on the naira, and before you know, the dollar will be gaining over the naira. So Nigerian government should, to a matter of urgency, this flood issue does not start today. We had the worst of it.
I had a guest, was it 2 days ago, that did say yesterday, that did say that Nigerians, the government are becoming too, sometimes that we Nigerians, we should live as though we don't have government. We should start caring for ourselves, for our own well-being. Because the more we call on government, the more they tend not to hear us. This was the opinion of one of my guests. That because don't be surprised that Cameroon did inform the government that we are going to be opening dam, and this is something you're supposed
We saw
to
the
take note of.
memo. The memo was everywhere. We saw the memo. The memo was released. You understand me? Memo was released, but what was the
See
action
that
of the
nothing,
government? Nothing.
yes, you will see that nothing was done, and then at the end of the day, we are the receiving end. Not just the fact that it's destroying buildings, it's destroying people, evacuating people from their homes, rendering people homeless, people being killed on the process, but as well, you see that the food is our foods are being affected. So if we have we have 30 something states, and we're seeing a whole 18 states, cassava, beans, and of course maize, all affected by flooding. I think this is something that needs a serious, it's a matter of urgency as far as I'm concerned, because this is the food we're taking, and this is our own local produce or product. And at the end of the day, these farmers, they put in time, effort, of course, resources to make sure that they
And
grow these crops.
the worst of it, they won't get compensation from
No,
anybody. No compensation from anybody. You understand me? The government will compensate them. If something from 2012 that the first one happened, I think that shouldn't be the first one, that the worst one happened. Till now is 11 years. Is that not enough for a reasonable government or individual who sits on the seat of power to construct a dam to cushion this effect?
it's
Just
quite
that they don't care.
quite painful, because whatever happens at the end of the day, it is the citizens that are the receiving end. Of course, they are in their buildings where you can't touch them, nothing gets to them. They're in the finest of houses, finest of cars, or they apparently they look at the picture carefully on this cover page. Look at the road there. These are major highways, these are major federal government roads. And I think this is also aiding insecurity, banditry, because when you
Yes,
get
they
to a
know
road
the right
like
thing.
this, you might want to slow down. There is no way you will want to speed up in a road like this. And the funny thing is that it is not as if it's just one place. You keep going from, for instance, from Abuja to Benin, or to Delta, where the road I'm quite familiar with, or Abuja to Lagos, you see that you have a lot of potholes. You sometimes you have to lost count. You can't even remember because they are everywhere. And how can banditry, robbers, or kidnappers not be on such road? Because of course they know that you're coming, you will have to slow down, and before you know, they attack. So these are some of the issues.
Eh,
And
I-
And
Nigeria,
I was seeing that federal government approves over 260 emergency road repairs, works to GOP 217 billion. So we do hope that this will bring some sort of relief, because not just approving and giving out the funds, but they will be used judiciously. People are of the opinion that Umahi will do well, and
there,
so we
there,
keep our
there is one
fingers
thing.
crossed.
Let me say something. There is something to wanting to release the fund, wanting to mark out the areas to be constructed. Another one is for follow up. The another one to ensure that quality is maintained. The problem we are having in our roads is what it takes to construct road in the north is not the same way it takes to construct road in the south. So all this should be looked into and put into place. If these are not done, you will see that if it is roads in the south are constructed the same way roads in the north are constructed, we will continue having failed portion. And this emergency repair should be given to quality people who can do job, a quality job. We see that we are losing gradually as a country. We are losing the value of for quality. We don't maintain quality again. Even production of food to consume, quality is not maintained. So let us maintain quality. Until we maintain quality, we will continue having these issues reoccurring.
Well, we hope as well that the governments will do the needful, because the roads, I am not liking the roads at all, Nigerian roads, and this is one of the major problem we have as well. Now we're going to move on to the next newspaper we have, and that would be the Guardian newspaper. Now these are some of the stories making waves from the Guardian. We have the main headline here says poor funding, low patronage rob Nigerian sport 500 billion naira revenue yearly. And that story is on page 5 and 4. That is your big story for the day. And then we have a story here as well that says a controversy trays appointment of lawyer Olokuyede as EFCC chair on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We have another story here. FG talks stuff on sexual harassment in universities. And that story is on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. There's a story here as well that says CBN lift restriction on 43 items, unveil measures to address distortions. And that story is on page 10 of the Guardian newspaper. There's a story here that says 23.8 million family businesses contribute 2,200 billion dollars to Nigerians' economy yearly. And that story is on page 18 of the Guardian newspaper. Now, these are all the stories we have coming from the Guardian. There's a major story here that says the big story says poor funding, low patronage rob Nigerian sport 500 billion naira revenue yearly. I would love to have a sport analyst on this one. And there's a story here that says federal government talks stuff on sexual harassment in university. Now, I want you to throw your weight on this story before we move to the next paper. Let's say let
Please,
me
kindly,
do you know, what did you say?
kindly come again with that one again, please. I was having network issues.
Okay, there's a story here that says FG talks stuff on sexual harassment in universities. Now,
Okay.
let's not forget that it's not just about the lecturers alone. I think sometimes I've actually seen students while I was in school, and they will be the ones to actually offer themselves because they are lazy to read. They don't want to read. They just want to pass and go. So what's your take on this story? What do you think can be done? Because we keep hearing these issues. We saw one the other day at Calabar University where students alleged that a lecturer, a professor, was actually harassing them sexually, sex for marks and all that.
Mhm. Initially when we were talking about, there was something we said and about those universities approval that were given, and I said that if the foundation is properly looked into and handled well, then everything at the top would be good, would be easy. You see, majority of these persons that go to school these days. I have somebody in my office. Sorry to say that. Some time ago, you see somebody that went to school, came back from school, can write a straight line without a mistake. And that person will tell you he or she sat for exams, made his or her papers, and is awarded certificate as a graduate. So the problem we are having is let us handle the foundation well. For example, if parents are, like I used to say, the first place, the place that a child stay most is the home. After that is the school. So how is the home like? How are the schools like? It's a station whereby everybody needs to sit up. When you don't have time for something in now, in the future, you will beg for that thing to have time for you. So sexual harassment issue, it has been a lingering issue in a higher institution, and an issue whereby those who could not have a proper foundation at the beginning, we want to do everything possible to make sure they pass their exams. And because of what our nation is, lecturers will on the other way, while some are exploiting only from the men, the other ones are looking for a way to make sure they exploit the ladies, which is very, very bad. So there should be a watch on both students and lecturers in this regard to avoid the issues of sexual harassment and sex for mark issues and or sex for grade issues in order to have a better educational system. When there are no laws in place guiding such things, you will see that it becomes a norm. I said this earlier. So there should be proper law in place guiding. I think there was a time the National Assembly came up concerning issue like this, sexual harassment and lecturer issue. I think that law was, I think Omar Agege brought, was working on such law. I don't know if it was signed into law before then, before the exit of President Buhari. So issue sex for mark and sexual harassment has been a frequent issue, both from lecturers and from lazy students. So those whom are responsible should be dealt with. And once that is done, I think it will caution every other person that will want to indulge on that.
Well said, because it's not a one-way thing. I think it's a two-way thing. Sometimes the lecturers could be dubious, but the student also are actually calling for it. They will tell you, I can offer sex, so you give me grades. So I think they should look at it from both ways. And now we move on to the next newspaper we have, and that would be the Vanguard newspaper. Now, the big headline here coming from Vanguard says, Atiku cooked up allegations against me. Tinubu tells Supreme Court. Says petition was mere blockbuster with thrilling suspense, hide and seek. Now, all these stories are on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper, as well as a story here that says reps invites minister diaspora commission over alleged maltreatment of Nigerians in Ethiopia, and that story is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Infrastructure revamp key to our economy policies. This is coming from Shetima, the vice president, and that story is on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper, as well as a story here that says era of exporting raw materials over, says Alake, and that story Alake, and that story is on page 25 of the Vanguard newspaper. As well, there's a story here that says NNPCL oil self to deliver $2.5 billion AKK gas pipeline project next July. And that story is on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. As well, there's a story here that says no discrepancies in obese certificates. This is coming from Labor, and that story is on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. There's a story here that says CBN at World Bank reannounces $1 trillion GDP target. That story is on page 4 of the Vanguard newspaper. Israel mass war. Sultan's JNI sues for peace as UN warns of their conditions in Gaza. That story is on page 25 of the Vanguard newspaper. LPPC evacuates 58 lawyers, elevates 58 lawyers to SAN rank, on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now, these are the stories we have coming from Vanguard this morning. There's a story here that really actually caught my attention. Reps invite Minister Diaspora Commission over alleged maltreatment of Nigerians in Ethiopia. This is Ethiopia we are talking about.
African country.
I don't understand. So if Nigerians are going through hell or going through hell, going through stress in developed countries, first class country, Why should we be going maltreatment, harassment in Ethiopia of all places?
Uh, you see, uh, you see, I don't know if it is because the population of people in Nigeria is high, or the government is insensitive. I've said similar thing like this in at the course of this. That is the course of while discussing about lifting foreigners from Israel. And I said the Nigerian government has always been slow in attending to the needs or plights of its citizens. I saw a video. That video was disturbing, of somebody coming up online to say that that he got a video or a message from one Nigerian that is suffering attack, or suffering, that has been in Ethiopia prison, lamenting the numbers of Nigerians whom are imprisoned in Ethiopia. I saw that disturbing video. I believe that the result of that video is what led to this invitation we are seeing. It is not only in Ethiopia. There are so many of them in Libya, so many of them in so many other countries prison, suffering for one as a result of one thing or the other. And at the end of the day, you see the government coming up to say that some of these persons, they are suffering because they are like that because as a result of drug and some other things. I remember some time ago, a Chinese was arrested because he killed a Nigerian girlfriend
Yes,
in
yes,
Nigeria.
in
And we saw a situation where, yes, we saw a situation whereby they said it is a Chinese government or something, police that would try that Chinese citizen. So what are we doing for our people? If people are not in place, there will be no government. So they should realize that they are in the seat of power because we have people to govern. So if by the time they decide to play low or not being responsible to the people they are elected to rule, take care of, or rule over, then what would be said of them? And in all these countries we have envoy. What are envoys? What are they doing? They are aware of some of these things, but they will just come up, look for flimsy excuses, and see how they can cover up. What are they doing? Is it that they don't like Nigerians or what?
I
So the
think the question should be the answer to that question should be that I think when they have people involved in such things, you see the quick response. And then when they don't have people close to them or closer to them involved in anything like that, you see they drag foot themselves in responding to serious allegations like this. You will see. Let's hope that this invitation will amount to something good.
we
I
just pray. We
I
pray.
don't understand why Nigerians will be going through one kind of any kind of issues in Ethiopia of all places. I don't know why I should even leave Nigeria and go to Ethiopia. I'm not
It
saying it's
shouldn't
not
be
a good
lesson.
country, but I feel like there are some things that we shouldn't be hearing at this stage or time that Nigerians are actually going through. This was the case of Sudan the other time, and that
Yeah.
we're not seeing Ethiopia. It's really sad. And then our borders are what our country is so open. Every other national comes in and they live freely and they do whatever they want to do and they even get away with it. It's quite painful. And then we move quickly to the next story we have here. And we take the last paper for the day. That would be the Blueprint newspaper. These are some of the stories coming from the Blueprint newspaper this morning. The main headline here says Tinubu's to Supreme Court on CSU saga. Dismiss articles appeal over cooked up. Verge or allegations. Describes ex VP second Verge as abuse of court process. Obese bears a different name in NYSC UNN certificates. A Papa's LP alleges. And all the stories are on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. And there's a story here that says Jais Blueprint Jais Bank in partnership to enhance business development. That story is on page 21 of the Blueprint newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Ajolo Fanalan's wife, EFCC lawyer, 56 others elevated to stand on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. There's a story here that says two feared killed, four trapped in Onshu church building collapse. And that story is on page 5 of the Blueprint newspaper. We have a story here that says Naira slumps to 1,045 Naira per dollar as forest crisis worsen. And that story is on page 22 of the Blueprint newspaper. Organ harvesting. Court revokes Noah Kekere's bill. Remand suspects. That story is on page 9 of the Blueprint newspaper. There's a story here that says troops neutralize 50 terrorists, arrest 114 Bugal in oil deal, in 9 billion naira oil deal. And that story is on page 6 of Blueprint newspaper. There is a story here that says army transformed to meet yearnings of Nigeria. Army transformed to meet yearnings of Nigeria. And that is coming from COAS. And there's another story here that says government adopt 3 Catholic nuns, seminarians, driver in Southeast. And that story is on page 17 of the Blueprint newspaper. Now, these are all the stories we have coming from the Blueprint newspaper this morning. And then I saw a story here that says Naira slumps to 1,045 Naira per dollar as forest crisis worsen. Mr. Truman, this is where we are today. A dollar is 1,045 Naira. Where do we go from here? It is, I don't know what to do, but I feel though like the government at this point, they should focus
Several
on
times that the naira.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead.
I said even with the several times that I said even with the several times that the naira has been devalued in order to meet up with the dollar, we still have issues coming up on increased a great difference disparity in the dollar to naira. That is to say that as a country that lives solely on importation, it will be difficult for us to progress as a people or as a nation. It was so bad. We should know this from the statement of the president when he was contesting, when he was campaigning. I remember that in one of his statements, he said that nobody's salaries will be paid with dollars. So the issue of dollar should not be increase in dollar rate should not be an issue. So this is what is playing out as we can see it today. Before Buhari left, it was 7 something or thereabouts, and now we are having it up to 1,000 plus. Forgetting the fact when he was making that statement, forgetting the fact that our refineries are not working. We exploit the oil here, we take abroad to refine and import again, all on dollar rate. We don't produce papers. We use papers every now and then. We don't produce cars. We don't produce majority of the things that we use in this country. They are all imported. Forgetting that they will be imported in dollar rate. In our last program, I made an example of somebody that said will be going to for a marriage at Republic of Benin and they will buy some things to come and sell in Nigeria. And the person that is getting married quickly said, "Don't try it to that the CFAs in Benin is higher than the Nigeria naira, so you will be at loss."
Are you serious?
You will be at loss buying from there to come and sell in Nigeria. So I said that in our last program. When is our government going to sit up? Recently, they declared some group of persons as CBN governors and the rest. And I was like, what are the antecedents of these persons? as concerning fiscal policy to make sure that our naira is strengthened against the dollar in order for things to work well. And record the other time when you were saying Nigeria government lift ban on rice and some other products. I said the ban will not work except some of these effects, the naira against the dollar, it work. Those things are looked into. So you can lift ban, but if the rate of naira is still of dollar against naira is still high, it will still affect on the importation of those things. The other time Buhari said, okay, let me not go into that. We are not discussing that now. So the government should sit up to make sure that the naira and the dollar work at par. That is when things will start working well for Nigeria.
And there's a story here: two killed, four trapped in Oshu church building collapse. We saw that in Benue just last week, where maybe early this week, where a Dunamis church in Benue did collapse, and the pastor died, other injured. And I was seeing this in Oshun as well. What do you think would do about this building collapse?
Before now, it was before now the collapse of building has been rampant with Lagos. The only church building collapse we have seen that was so devastating was when the synagogue church of all nations collapsed. Some
And
part
that
of it, I think
that was due to, yes.
the guest house of it collapsed some time ago, which was alleged to sabotage from the church authority then. And since then, we have not heard anything about that report. Church buildings getting collapsed every now and then. I don't think this is a good news. And you see that people can go any length. We heard that in Dunamis Church. Dunamis is my own church. We know the level of quality the senior pastor make sure is put into place to make things work.
But
So we can't say
how are we sure that he will not always be there? And nature will not always be there. The money might be approved, but you know how to build some contractors could be just to make sure they get a lot from that
they
money they
get,
might want
yeah,
to use
they get
standard
more.
materials. And don't forget also churches, there's something peculiar with churches. They just want to, okay, let's raise the building. We need to do services here and there. And the rates at which, I mean, I'm beginning to think it has to do with the foundation itself.
Um, well, let's
And
say
sometimes too, they rush in building these buildings.
let's say the foundation, maybe the materials used, or let's say there are saboteurs along the road, along the way. So let's see, because we don't pray that this kind of thing happen again. And Dunamis own was so the joy in it was, it wasn't on Sunday prior to that day the church collapsed. Sunday, the Independence Day, the church was having 9 hour service. I mean 7 hour service from 7 a.m. till about 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So we so much thank God that incident didn't happen at that time.
Time import,
But
yes.
you understand me? That is a time whereby the church was overstretched with people and so many other things inside. So we don't know what is happening yet. So we don't know. We can't say now it is as a result of materials use or as a result of some enemies or some person trying to come against the church. So let's watch. We don't pray if this incident happen again. But
Yes, that is the
my
prayer.
message to church leaders and those who are building building is to ensure that quality is maintained at all times.
Yes, that is the only prayer we're praying now. Please consider people, human beings, where you set, where you start the building foundations. And then the last story here we're taking says FG not interested in stifling press. This is a press freedom of expression. This is coming from Malagi. FG not interested in stifling press. Freedom of expression. I know that is not true, and you know as well that they are trying so much to make sure that they gag the press to an extent. But what's your take on this as we wrap up the show this morning?
That FG is not interested in what?
in guarding the press or freedom of expression.
How true can we say to that the federal government is not guiding the press? You see, recently when this issue of certificate saga came up and Chicago result and so many things that came up, I said it earlier that the media were to some extent silent about it. We are gradually drifting to a station that people will want to silence the media houses in order for them not to be heard, or in order for their issues, for their wrongs or for allegations against them not to be heard in public. I'm saying people, I'm not restricting it to one person. Even there are times in some of our little offices that an issue will come up, pressmen will be given money in order not to say it. And we have said it several times that the media is a watchdog of the society.
I see.
If by the At the end of the day, if you are not doing your watchman work well, that means you are not capable of doing your job. And that is why you see most times some of us, I don't even watch the news on television these days. I prefer to carry my phone, look at what is up, and look at critically look at the ones that are genuine, and discard the ones I feel are not genuine. You understand me? Majority of my experiences on what I say based on national issues are based on what I get from my phone, not what I sit at home and begin to watch television to listen to. So the media should sit up in order for people to respect them, just as we want to say that the those in the bar, they should sit up to ensure that things work well in the country. The media should, to a matter of fact and urgency, sit up to ensure that they bring quality news, not listening to what so they are being guided to say. And the issue of, let me come again on the issue of NBC. NBC, I don't know if it is a faction of a political party, or a faction, or is an arm of government. They said soldier go, soldier come, barrack remain the same. The same. If soldier go, soldier come, and barrack remain the same. That means NBC is not restricted to a particular government. It serve the general purpose of the people. So the people's stake will be the number one stake of NBC. So if a media house is going against, they can guide what they are supposed to do. They can guide, and not to be issuing threats, and not to be threatening with a withdrawal of a license and some other threats that we have seen from them several times. We've seen that every successive government will want to make sure the police are under them, the army are under them, the navy, the security forces, and so many other things, they are under them. It's a situation whereby the government of the day uses DSS, uses EFCC to make sure they fight opponents. These things will not be. It will not happen in the US. It will not happen in other countries whereby the rule of law is working and the system is working. So our government should stand up to sit up their responsibility by not using what agency of the government to fight the people who elected them into position.
That is a very, very good appeal, and of course, a good place to wrap up the show. Thank you so, so much. It's always a pleasure to have you here with me on any of my shows. I appreciate your time this morning. Thank
Um,
you for being on the Wake Up Show this morning. We appreciate your time. And have yourself a very beautiful day ahead. Of course, it's Friday. Yes. Uh,
yes,
the day you people, civil servants, I know you people are usually very happy when it's Friday. Yes, and of course, we do hope sincerely that government will begin to put the interest of the people at heart. And like you said, the media as well, we need to sit up in reporting fairly and not in the favor of one person or the other, but for the masses, the good of all, as they are the the bridge between the people and government, the watchdog of society, as well as the society look up to the media. So we do hope that everybody in their own quarter will sit up to make sure that we take the country to the country we want to see in the future. Thank you so very, very much, Mr. Chuma Konana, for being on the show. We appreciate your time. Do have a very beautiful day.
And you too. Have a lovely weekend.
You too, sir.
Yeah. Well done.
Yes, viewers, that would be a good place to wrap up the show this morning, the Wake Up Nigeria. Thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate your time. And thank God it's Friday, like we always say. But while you are out there, do not drink and drive. And please obey the traffic laws. Before we go, don't forget that peace is priceless. So always give peace a chance, no matter the economy, the pressure, the stress. Keep hope alive. It's going to be better tomorrow. And of course, don't forget to follow us on our social media handles. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and our X, of course, our YouTube. Subscribe, hit on the notification bell, invite somebody to the page, and of course, leave us with your comments. We'd love to hear from you. And please do well to be your brother's keeper as you go into the weekend. Please help somebody, put a smile on the face of somebody. Have yourself a very beautiful weekend. Hopefully on Monday we'll do this again. Bye.
Hooray! The next President Show is here again. Are you aged between 18 and 30, smart, bold, and possess exceptional leadership skills? Do you have what it takes to be the next youth governor and future youth president? Then register free now at superiorradioandtelevision.com or call the number on the screen. The next President reality TV show, moving politics out of the polite drawing room into the clamor of the streets. Hooray! The next President Show is here again.
Everyone, my name is Hajara Osman Muhammad. I'm the Youth Governor for Kano State, Nigeria's Center of Commerce.
Pronounced Joel Garba, the Youth Executive Governor of Kaduna State, and I am contesting for the Youth Presidents of Nigeria under the People's Liberation Party, PLP.
Between 18 and 30, smart, bold, and possess exceptional leadership skills. Do you have what it takes to be the next youth governor and future youth president? Then register free now at superiorradioandtelevision.com or call the number on the screen. The next President reality TV show, moving politics out of the polite drawing room into the clamor of the streets.
Nomination is ongoing. Contact us at info@superiorradioandtelevision.com or via +234 814 358 2856 or +447 459 513 619. Forward by Srtv in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.